I'm Reginald Reed.
And I'm Norelda Garcia Reed. We live in Bear Creek here in Houston, Texas. And Royal Air has been our go-to AC company for several years now.
And probably longer than that, because I believe we use them as...
We used to service our older
Right.
units, and then in 2014 you replaced one of our 2 units, our smaller unit,
Right.
and got some free maintenance for a couple of years.
Right.
Very pleased with the company.
Right. Service was great. We've never had an issue with them showing up.
And then that was in 2014, and in
Yeah.
2016 we decided, well, it kind of got decided for us because our other unit failed,
Right.
and so we had to replace it, so we called them again, and they replaced our second unit in 2016, and again, the service was great. Had a little bit of a mishap on that
On the
second
original,
installation, which we were a little displeased with, but they immediately, once we expressed what had happened, they immediately send folks out to correct the problem. And we've been with them ever since. Now, our home flooded in 2016 and, the Tax Day
2016,
flood
yeah.
and the Harvey flood. And so now that my house is all rebuilt downstairs, everything's good, even my outside is painted, the house is practically new. The one thing I had been considering was cleaning my ducts, but I didn't know anything about it, so I went online and did some studying, and of course there's a whole bunch of companies out there that'll do it for like $89, something like that, whole house, but anyways, I was a little bit leery, so I kept reading on it, and there was some write-ups that said that you shouldn't do it because you could compromise the system, and so I let it go until I started smelling something a couple of weeks ago that I knew wasn't right. Initially, because it was just, I figured the duct work, I got a bid from another company, and they came out, and then Reggie and I were talking about it, and we said, you know what, we really need, based on what this guy had told us, won't mention the company, we felt like, this shouldn't be happening to a new system. So anyways, we called Royal Air in, and unfortunately there was mold in our plenums and a little bit in some of the ductwork. Ductwork was, however, the house was built in 1990, so that was original ductwork, so it was recommended that they be replaced. The pricing of all the work, although I didn't want to spend any more money, was a good deal. Royal Air came in, and they replaced all our ductwork, lifted it up off the ground. It's in the attic. Our systems are in the attic, and they sprayed insulation into the attic. They put filters
In the attic.
in the attic instead of a plenum that kind of replaced the plenum, which is I think that's the box where the return air passes through before it hits the system to get treated and recirculated. It was explained to us that the system would be a lot more efficient and quieter. The quiet hasn't happened yet because they are making a return trip. These poor guys worked on a Sunday. George Saleh, one of the principals of the company, came out to visit with us on Saturday after his tech had been here on Friday. And he told us he was sending us a crew on Sunday. And I said, well, they're going to really hate you. He says, no, we have people that work on Saturdays and Sundays. I said, okay. So they did come out. All the ductwork has been replaced. They do have to come back and add a couple of return grills in our upstairs ceiling that will kind of replace what the return grill we have down here, in which is supposed to make the system very quiet.
Right.
And they're
And
also
more
going to move the drain piping so that we don't have issues with that, because we have had issues with backup because it gets messy inside, and if we aren't diligent about cleaning that pipe out, it can cause issues. So we're really pleased with that, and George was very you know, very thorough in how he explained what was going to happen to us, and you know, with the system. And now, you know, once they replace that other part, the second part of the job, gosh, my house is, I'll put it on the market. Anybody?
Both of us.
Yeah.
But yes, they've been very responsive. Like I said, they're on time. They give you a range of time they're going to be there, and they show up, and very courteous.
And one thing I had not mentioned, but from the very first time Royal Air did a big job for us with replacing that first unit, I was concerned about, you know, being able to afford such a large amount. But they opened up a credit card for me, am I allowed to say, through Wells Fargo, which is a home projects account.
Right.
And I'm paying on my systems at 0% interest for the life of the loan. I think it's like 16 months. So I thank them for that, because I don't know how we would have been able to replace these systems financially had they not done that for us. So that's a big plus for us here. And I think, you know, anybody who's concerned about being able to handle that, they're very supportive. You know, I explained my situation back in 2014 to us, and they said, don't worry, we're going to get this covered for you. We're going to get this financed for you, and it's going to be 0% interest. So that was a huge plus for me.
Sure was.
And, you know, here it is, 2018. You know, like I said, they serviced our systems, our older systems, probably for a couple of years before. How I picked them, I don't remember. I probably surfed the net and looked for somebody.
No,
in the
actually,
neighborhood.
how they got picked was because they were servicing our old equipment.
Yeah.
And during the time that the lower one went out, they suggested that
Yeah,
we rather than replace it, the condenser itself, that we replace the whole unit.
Yeah, because it was old.
Because it was
both
old,
of these
right.
systems were, like I said, the house was built in 1990.
Thank you.
Thank you, Royal Air, for being there for us, for making our lives more comfortable, our air more healthy, and just for being responsive and caring.
I want to thank George for coming out and really giving us the full treatment and making sure, and we believe in George that he was going to take care of all this, and I know that he's going to do that. So I just want to reach out and thank you, George, for doing that.
Yes,
Awesome.
sir. Thank you.